I've covered murder trials, and one of the things that you can tell when somebody comes into a courtroom is you can look at their eyes, and the guilty ones have this funny look in their eyes. And I had always been aware of that, and somebody told me about Starkweather. He had this picture. He's like, look at this, and it just gave me chills. I mean, the guy, those eyes were so deep and sharp. It's just spooky. And I've come across people that, and like I said, in murder trials or whatever, they're hard to look at.
In a lot of ways, he seemed like a chameleon. Like, I would see different pictures of him, and I swore it wasn't the same person. I mean, except for the eyes. That was the tell. But sometimes when I would look at pictures of Starkweather, they didn't all look alike. It was kind of odd, you know, and we're only talking over a span of, 17 months most of these pictures were taken. So for it to be that way, I don't know if that was a mental state that kind of changed his appearance at different times. I mean, don't get me wrong, most of the time you could tell it was him, but there were certain times when I would look at pictures of him and I'd say, you know, if you had lined that up with the other pictures, I wouldn't realize that was Starkweather. And he was always trying to look the same, so that's what's odd to me. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of the pictures that float around are pictures of him in prison and pictures of him on trial. And on trial, obviously, they gave him a haircut and got him to wear his glasses and gave him a new wool suit and, you know, all this other stuff and dressed him up, just like defense attorneys do today.
Mm-hmm.
And but you're right, he was kind of a Boris Karloff kind of man of 1,000 faces. He definitely changed appearances somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess when you're on the run, you got to kind of learn how to do that. So there were definitely two other things I wanted to talk about. The first thing was, and I don't know how to present it, but your book definitely goes into it whenever he's being interviewed. The Starkweather, he didn't seem like the sharpest blade in the drawer. Talk a little bit about that. Starkweather, he just didn't seem like the smartest guy around. And, you know, granted, it's not like we're doing a ton of profiles on the guy, you know, today. But, you know, I figure on the IQ end of serial killers or killers like this, he's probably on the low end, correct?
Yeah. Excuse me. People like, you know, your Ted Bundys and your Timothy McVeighs and your Jeffrey Dahmers are highly intelligent individuals. Very highly intelligent, 150 or above. That's why they get away with it for so long. You have to be smart to pull off crime after crime after crime. I mean, you look like Ted Bundy, and he killed 34 people without getting caught. You know, I mean, you got to be slick to do that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Starkweather, he wasn't even covering up most of his crimes. I mean,
yeah, that's what I was going to point out. Is Starkweather wasn't slick. Mm-hmm. You know, he made a mess of things.
Well, that's what was so interesting to me when I talked to Jeff MacArthur last week, is that, you know, Carol claimed she didn't know her parents were dead, but it's hard to believe a dummy like Starkweather would have cleaned up their house so well for her to not notice. You know, that's why there's just like, okay, I could buy a lot of the parts about the Carol Ann Fugate, you know, not being an accessory to it all, but there's just certain things like that stand out to me, and I'm like, your testimony sucks, though. So that's, I don't know, it goes with the belief that Starkweather had to be smarter than what we're led to believe, and I'm not sure that I believe that he was smart enough to, you know, make someone else believe that their family is or is not dead, that they're being held, or whatever the hell the story is, you know?
Well, here's what I don't understand. They found Velda Bartlett, the mother, wrapped in carpet and stuffed in the two-holer out back. And then they found the box with the baby in it out there with her.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if she was stuck in the outhouse for 2 days, where did they go to the bathroom?
That's what I wondered too. Now, I did hear that they may have had indoor plumbing also, which would be strange to me because why do you have an outhouse? So I don't know. I see, and I'll be honest, I haven't read the case files. I've read snippets, but I have not read the full case files, so I'd have to see that. And to be honest with you, I don't think they went as deep into the investigation as they thought they needed to, because I think they thought it was a slam dunk as far as that goes. But it does, you know, raise interesting questions that I've always been curious about, and I don't think we'll ever have answers to. Another thing that the book gets into, and maybe it's a brief thing, but it is powerful when you talk about it in the book, is the death penalty. And it was definitely in regard to 14-year-old Carol Ann Fugate, but to even talk about it with Starkweather, a guy who had committed such heinous crimes. Talk a little bit about your own personal feelings. And again, I know I'm opening a can of worms here, but talk a little bit about the death penalty and you know, kind of putting your feelings to paper there.
Well, I'll just start out by saying I'm against it. I'm against the death penalty altogether. You take a man's life, well, for taking a man's life. We kill people to show each other that killing people is wrong. It's a conundrum. It makes no sense. Personally, I think if you wanted to really punish somebody, you'd sentence them to hard labor. But killing them, I mean, what difference does that make? And I have extremely strong feelings about that, and the part about Charles and his execution was actually very difficult to write about. And now, on the other hand, Timothy McVeigh was given the death penalty. Ted Bundy was given the death penalty. Now, how can you argue against giving them the death penalty? I'm sort of caught in a, well, yeah, pretty much it's wrong, but, you know, you get these crazies once in a while, and they need to be put to death.
Yeah. I think there's blatant cases. Yeah, there's blatant cases where it's just like, what the hell else are we going to do with them? I don't want to see them sit in a cell. I get the research aspect of it, too. But, I mean, I feel like these guys are such liars that maybe it's not even beneficial on that end either.
Sorry.
So I don't know. That makes it a little tough, too. But okay. Here we are, 60 years since the murders took place. Talk about, 6
I didn't even
later.
know that when I wrote it. I didn't even know it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, you know, that it's been 60 years since that's all happened. But at the same time, you know, it's not like it's recent, but it's one of those things that feels so far in the past that like you said, that a lot of people don't know about it. It's a really weird balance there. It's kind of like it's American history at this point. Hell, you could put it in a U.S. history book and it would fit in there just the same as Bonnie and Clyde, just more morbid. But yeah, kind of paint a quick picture of the whole thing and kind of where we're at today as far as it goes. I mean, is the story concrete that Carol Ann Fugate and Starkweather were both murderers, or is there going to be mystery surrounding the whole thing forever?
Well, I think the mysteries that exist with this case, and there will be mysteries, but the whole thing with Starkweather and him attributing some of the killings to Fugate. I think that's something we're not going to know. And Carol Ann Fugate, I think she lives in
Michigan.
Stryker, Ohio, or Michigan, yeah. And I don't think we're going to know exactly what happened. I mean, when they shot the man beside the road, Charlie shot him twice through the glass, and then he got shot 7 more times. He asked Starkweather, it was Carol Ann that shot him 7 more times. And then later he told the FBI that she was the trigger-happiest girl he'd ever met. There's also some indication in the Lauer house there were 2 murders that were committed by her. Possibly.
The maid and the mother, I think?
Clara Ward and her maid, Linda Finkel.
Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think there's enough evidence. I mean, Carol Ann held a shotgun on Robert Jensen and Carol King when he took them down to the cellar and shot them. She was not innocent. She was an accomplice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to hear all the perspectives on it, because I think that's what's important about this story, because if you only get one perspective, you're not getting the whole story. And I feel like that's kind of what we did over the last 2 weeks, is we tried to give the whole story, and I thought that was important. But I think it's plug time, so if you want to go ahead and start throwing out where people can pick up Chasing Starkweather and some of your other works, too. I know Starkweather is probably your most popular, but there's some other things out there that people need to take a look at, too.
Okay, well, my first novel was called Wipers, A Soldier's Tale from the Great War, and it's been my bestseller. And it's about a British coal miner who goes to France to fight the Germans in World War I, 1914 to 1918. The second one that I wrote was called The Bonus, Veterans March on Washington, D.C., and it's about, it takes place during the Great Depression, and veterans coming to Washington to want back payment for salaries they lost while fighting overseas. I wrote Starkweather, and then I wrote a fourth one that was sort of aimed at my hometown of Parkersburg, West Virginia, called Silver Shot. It's about a serial sniper on the loose, and it also happens to be my first fully fictional novel. Everything else has been based on fact. You can get all 4 of those on. Those 4 are all available on Amazon, either in Kindle or paperback.
Easy enough. Well, Jeff, I really appreciate you helping us come in for the second week of 2 weeks of Starkweather. It was really awesome. And again, I just want to thank you so much for the book. I really love Chasing Starkweather. I will continue to plug it because I think it's great, and I think it's definitely worth reading for people who just don't want, the same old true crime book. This has, more of a story to it than most you'll get.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Jeff, if there's anything else you want to throw out, feel free. If not, then we'll definitely talk to you down the line on one of those other books. How's that sound?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be glad to talk with you all anytime.
All right, bud. Well, you take care, Jeff. I appreciate you taking the time, and you take care.
Thank you.
All right, later on, bud. And that was everybody. That was Jeff Simmons, writer, author of Chasing Starkweather. I'm telling you guys, I was surprised at how good of a book it was, because there's been so many things written on Starkweather. It was refreshing to kind of read just a story on the time, basically. And that's the best way I can explain it, combined with just the facts, man. You know what I mean? It was good stuff. But that being said, Vic has come back to life. He's like a fucking vampire. What's up, man?
What the fuck is up, people? How we doing?
I thought you died. I thought you died for sure.
Why would you think that?
You do die every once in a while. Is that not true?